Okay, good evening, everybody. A lot of students this year have taken the computer science and engineering branch. There was unprecedented demand for CSE branches this year, and for good reason, because most of the high-paying jobs are in this sector. But if you think that just because you're registered for the CSE branch, a high-flying career is automatic, you'll have to think again. There are a lot of things that you need to do from now to be ready for this high-flying career. Fortunately for you, CSE branch by itself is not a very demanding discipline. The course load may not be very high, but all the same, there's a lot of work that you need to do outside of the classroom. So whatever I say or whatever I tell you today, maybe you can get all this information if you are in a top tier campus over a couple of months or in the first year. But since most of you are at home without access to your seniors, getting this information at one shot will be very difficult. So it makes sense for all of you to follow whatever I tell you right now very, very carefully. And if you're not from one of those top campuses, definitely you should go through this very carefully. And this applies not just to CSE students, for students of any branch who would like to make a career in the IT field. All of what I say would apply to them too. So let's start off with the top 10 tips. First one, computer science, a career in IT field is all about programming. So you should get into it only if you are comfortable with programming. Programming is something which you don't learn by just sitting in a class. Sitting in a class and listening to a lecture is just the beginning. There are a lot of things that you need to do outside of the class, and specifically in terms of sitting in front of a computer and coding, programming in yourself. The example that I often give is, this is similar to learning swimming. Now I can give you a 1-hour lecture on the kinematics of swimming, but that's not going to help you in terms of learning how to swim. You can sit by the poolside for hours together, you can see the swimmers, you can watch the swimmers doing a lot of swimming, but that's not going to teach you how to swim. So how do you learn swimming? Get into the pool yourself, splash around a bit and practice your strokes. That is how you learn swimming. So also programming. You have to do the programming yourself, dirty your hands, and that is the only way to develop the skill. Practice and more practice. So if you are the kind who doesn't like programming, then you should not get into CSE, because just think about it. You are going to make a living out of programming. So if you don't like it, if you detest it, then I don't think you should be in this branch. So you should immediately seek a branch transfer. But if you are interested in this field, then I think you should look at learning programming. And learning programming is something that you should start right now. There are some people who say that, okay, once you get into engineering, you will anyway learn. But considering that most of you come from a background where you wouldn't have learned coding either in your 10th class or intermediate, it makes sense for you to invest a little bit of time and perhaps a little bit of money to learn programming. There are a whole lot of crash courses that are available which will teach you basic C and data structures. You can start with that. Because believe me when I tell you that programming the way it is taught in most engineering colleges, even in the top campuses, is very unimaginative. So a lot of things you have to learn on your own. So rather than doing that at that stage, use the time that is available right now, because most campuses have not started yet. And even where online classes have started, you're still in the induction phase. There's plenty of time at your disposal. So use the time now productively to start learning programming. It could be C and data structures, it could be C++, it could be Java, it could be Python, it could be any one of those things, but start it. That is the first thing that you should do. And second, once you get into the engineering course and once you have this as a subject, don't just limit yourself to attending classes or doing well from the examination point of view. You need to go to the lab, computer lab, or on your laptop, practice coding as much as possible. And this is something that you need to do continuously over the next 4 years. And if you don't like it, think about it again, think about your choice of the branch again. So this is the most important thing that you need to know about success in the computer science field. Second is good academic scores. A lot of people, and it's in fact fashionable in engineering college campuses to tell you that scores don't matter. But let me tell you one thing, that scores do matter. And scores matter in two ways. One, most of these IT companies will set a floor limit to filter out students when they come for campus recruitment. So they may say that anybody less than 8 CGPA need not apply, or anybody getting less than 70% need not apply. So if you don't get the grade, then you will not be able to make it for the interview itself. You may be an excellent programmer, but you will not get a chance to show your programming skills. The second way in which it affects is that most of the top companies would fall for grades. If you have a good grade, say you have a 9+ CGPA, when a company comes to your campus, it becomes very difficult for them to reject you as a candidate. In fact, even before you enter the interview room, they have your biodata in front of you. And once you have a good grade, it gives them a lot of confidence. The interview starts on a positive note. Of course, you got to justify this good grade with good performance in the interview, but you start on a good note. So having a good grade is very, very important. And please don't listen to what your seniors say, because most of your seniors will tell you that grades are not important. Grades are important. And on this issue, let me also tell you that your seniors appear wise, but they are not wise. They are just a couple of years senior to you. Get a lot of information from them, but don't get their advice and opinion on things. Get information, because you need to get that information. But the decision that have to be made by you, not by your seniors, because what applies to them, not to you. So get information, but make your own decisions. And one of those things is about your academic scores. And performance in academics will start with the first year, because it is easier in the first year for you to get good scores. And if you don't get good scores in the first year, it is difficult for you to make up in the second, third, and fourth year. So start off on a good note and start with good grades in the first year. Now, then you may ask me this question, sir, if this is what it is, then how am I going to enjoy life? How am I going to get other experiences, extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities, and things like that? So let me tell you that you need to do time management. I'm not saying that you just become a bookworm or sit in front of a computer and become a computer nerd. I'm not talking about that. There is a time for everything. There's a time for programming, do that. There's a time for doing well in your academics, do that. And there's a time for enjoyment. There's a time for participation in co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Do that. Whatever is your interest, pursue that interest. If you don't have an interest, develop an interest. There will be a variety of clubs in any of the IITs, NITs, and BITs, or any other college campus. Get involved in one of those clubs. In the first year, perhaps you will be a foot soldier. Next year onwards, you'll be given more responsibilities. Handle those things. These are things which will help you in terms of developing an overall personality. And the so-called soft skills that most engineering colleges talk about, you develop those soft skills by doing these things. I'm not saying that you should not participate in them. Please do participate in this, and it's very essential that you participate in these things. But while you participate in these things, you should also do these things. So not one at the cost of the other. So like we always say, like a dietitian will say that you need to have a balanced diet. So also your stay in the engineering college, you need to find time for everything. Okay. Third is data structures and algorithms. Now this is one course that you will have in your second year first semester. Data structures is one particular course you need to take very, very seriously, and you need to be perfect in this particular thing. So even if you do not belong to the CSE discipline, you are say from ECE or EEE or whatever, you need to learn data structures and algorithms on your own. Third is competitive coding. Now, competitive coding means there is a lot of scope for you to participate in coding contests. This could be in hackathons in your campus, or there are a lot of platforms like what I mentioned here, CodeChef and CodeForces, and there are a number of those platforms. So you can start participating in these coding competitions right from first year. But okay, first year may be an overkill, so you can get into it from the second year onwards. But do participate, because experience in these things will help you, A, in terms of putting these things on your biodata, and two, and most importantly, most interview questions you'll be comfortable if you participate in competitive coding. Next is open source contribution. If you can participate, and this is not mandatory, but if you can do it, nothing like it. Lot of software is developed by the open source community. That means developers across the globe collaborate to develop this open source software. So you can participate in this development effort, contribute in whichever way you can, and you can start exploring these options from the second year onwards. In fact, the ultimate there would be GSOC. Now, what is GSOC? GSOC is Google Summer of Code. So where this is a platform where a number of companies would join this platform and would provide projects to students like you. So you can apply to this GSOC. There will be some application deadlines and things like that. And one of these companies will become your mentor, and the mentor will give you information about how to proceed with the project. Participate in this. If you can do that, nothing like you, it will be nothing like it, because it will be a very valuable addition to your biodata. Okay, then internships. Internships is a very important part of your learning process, because internships is where you will practically pick up coding skills, and you'll also get exposure to a working environment. So you should, if you're in a top campus like the IITs, some NITs, BITs, etc., companies come to your campus to select you for internship. There also you have to make an effort to get into the best of companies. So you'll have to prepare for these internship interviews. So you'll have to do all of those things that I mentioned before to get ready for these internship opportunities. But if you don't belong to these campuses, or if you belong to branches where the companies don't select internees from that particular campus, then you have to make effort otherwise, and I will discuss how you're going to get off-campus internships. But internships is something which you have to take seriously, because in most cases, the internships will also lead to jobs in the form of pre-placement offers. So at the end of the internship, if the company is happy with you, they will give you a PPO, in which case a whole lot of burden will get reduced. So these internships can be done at the end of second year, during the summer break, or most importantly, and definitely, it should be done at the end of the third year. So third year, after third year, the break that you have, you should definitely do this internship. And you have to make an effort to get the best possible company in terms of this internship. Okay, then there are, apart from internships, other things that you have to consider is there are other important subjects in computer science, like operating systems, DBMS, networks, OOPS, things like that. So you should be thorough with some of these subjects, because you would likely get questions from these subjects in your interview. Then interview preparation. So this interview preparation is something which you should do at least one semester before the interviews happen in your particular campus. So the interviews happen in the fourth year, first semester in your campus, then you should start from third year, second semester. If your interviews happen in fourth year, second semester, then you need to start from the fourth year, first semester itself. And one important resource is Geeks for Geeks. So there will be a number of interview questions, segregated company-wise, etc. You can go through this portal, go through these problems yourself, but don't learn the solutions. You have to solve those questions yourself, and that is the only way to learn. So that is something that you can do. Apart from that, there will be projects. There will be a number of projects in your course, and definitely a course project will be there, perhaps in your fourth year, first semester, or fourth year, second semester, depending upon where you are doing this BTech program. So take this project seriously. In most cases, you may have to do the project after your placements, but still the projects are important, because maybe after you get into a job, you would like to go abroad for doing your MS. So if you want to apply for your MS, then the project here becomes important. You need to have something to talk about. So if this project can lead to a paper publication, nothing like it. So take the project seriously, even if you have got a job by that time. If you don't get a job by that time, then the project becomes very important, because this will be an important question in your interview. So projects are important. It will help you learn a lot of practical skills. So concentrate on the project, do well in your project, for your placements, and if placements already happen, then perhaps it will be useful in the future. And say 2 years into industry, you want to get into a MS program, then you can always get into do a good project and use the project in your biodata. Then off-campus internships and jobs. Now, this is a very, very important thing as far as the IT industry is concerned. Even in the best of campuses, IITs, NITs, BITS, etc., not all companies come to the campus for historical reasons. So you may like to get into one particular company, and perhaps that company doesn't come to your campus. And there may be a lot of campuses in, say, local engineering colleges where none of these companies come. And while talking about companies, let me tell you about two different kind of companies that that visit your campus. One is the product-based companies. The other is the service-based companies. These service companies are typically the TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL, Tech Mahindra, Cognizant, etc., etc. Now, these companies take you for service jobs, which are not so very challenging, which are also low paying, typically around 4 to 5 lakhs. That would be the average pay package. The better salary and the more challenging jobs are in the product companies. What are the product companies? Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Adobe, Salesforce, companies of this kind. So if these companies come to your campus and take you, there's nothing like it. But suppose even if you're in a top campus and if your branch is not CSE and you want to get into these kind of companies, and you're not allowed to sit for those interviews, then you have to rely on off-campus internships and job offers. Similarly, if you belong to a campus where none of these companies come, you should not lose hope. There's always a possibility of off-campus internships and jobs. And that is one thing unique to the IT industry. So what you need to do is, there are a number of ways in which you can access the off-campus internships and jobs. One is through referrals. And therefore, it is important that you keep good relations with your seniors. And that is one of the things that you have to learn in engineering college, which is, networking. Networking with students not just belong to your branch, but also all branches, not just belong to your batch, but also all batches, your juniors and seniors. And this network are something which will help you throughout your life. So just go ahead and develop these networks. In this connection, let me also tell you that I find that a lot of B.Tech students from the Telugu states go to IITs and other institutes like NITs and IIITs and BITs and stick together. You would never gain anything by just sticking together with other Telugu speaking students. What you should be doing is mix with others, form friendship with others, get exposed to other cultures, learn a new language. That is the only way in which you can develop. So never ever stick to just friends from your city or your place or your state. In fact, I advise my students all the time to just go out of this group and develop friendships develop friendships with a whole lot of people, and these networks will come in useful. So one of the ways in which they come in useful is through giving referrals for off-campus jobs and internship opportunities. Similarly, most of these companies also have their career portals. You can apply through the career portals for off-campus jobs and internships. And if you have done all of these things, specifically competitive coding and contributed to open source, you will definitely catch their attention, provided you apply to them, provided you get access to them. If you have these two things and a good academic score, definitely you will catch their attention. So that is one of the things very important in the IT industry, because IT industry, most of the recruitment happens in the private sector. You don't require anybody's recommendation. You don't require a godfather. If you have the talent, people will pick you up. It's just that once you have the talent, you also need to have access. The access to top companies will come through a campus, but you are not in a top campus, you can still get to them through this. And there are a number of success stories of students who have gone through off-campus, who've got internships. You can also apply for internships. And especially if you're a girl, the number of these companies, top companies, have special recruitment drives for girls to ensure diversity in the workplace. So there are internship opportunities specifically meant for girls. So you can use those things also. So off-campus internships and jobs is something which you would use. Even if top companies come to your campus, you're not satisfied with the quality of companies that come to you, or perhaps your branch is not allowed to participate in those selection process, you should take this off-campus jobs and internships seriously. So in a nutshell, these are all the things that you need to keep in mind if you want to get into a top career in the IT field. Of course, I have not mentioned a few details because each one of them can lead to a full-fledged video by itself. Today, we are not looking into all these details. I'm just giving you some pointers which you can use to explore once you get into the college. There are a few other things that I have not mentioned, which applies to not just computer science branch, but for all branches, which is in terms of, say, for example, developing soft skills. This is one term that you will hear a lot in engineering colleges. But I believe that you will develop soft skills once you do all of these things. Now, what is soft skills? Soft skills is, for example, communication skills. Soft skills is taking responsibility, taking ownership, developing a positive attitude, okay, discipline, punctuality. All of these things are part of soft skills. In fact, certain engineering colleges conduct specialized workshops for these soft skills. I feel that more than participating in these workshops, if you do all of these things, these soft skills will get developed automatically, and that becomes important. For example, communication skills and teamwork are two important things once you go for a IT company interview. And if you participate in these things, teamwork and communication skills get developed automatically. So before I sign off, let me again reiterate that particular point that I was mentioning, that you need to have a balanced activity profile, not just doing an excess of any particular thing. I'm not saying just do coding all the time. Yes, you have to find time for coding, do well in your academics, develop a good friends group, participate in a lot of campus activities and campus events, develop an interest. If you have an interest, pursue that interest, be an active member of different clubs, do all of these things. And only then you will develop a wholesome personality, which will lead you to a good job and later on to a great career. If there are any comments and if you need further suggestions, please comment, and based on time, our team will get back to you. Thank you very much.